Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Cynthia Thompson. I'm zooming in from New York. I know a lot of you are joining us all the way from Hong Kong and now Korea, Hee Seong from Korea, and also some of you from the East Coast, from the West Coast, and Hawaii even. So it's wonderful to have you here. I also want to thank our Executive Director, Jenny Leung, and curator Hoi Leung for inviting me to co-host this event with you. Thank you. I think I have been on the board on CCC for about 2 years now, and there are many reasons why I love CCC and want to support it. First of all, I truly believe in our mission of elevating the underserved communities and giving voice to equality through education and contemporary art. I am impressed with the fact that although CCC is deeply rooted in the local community, it has elevated itself onto a global platform. I love the fact that CCC like to champion new talents. Our contemporary art program is always amazing. Often it is cutting edge. Our curator Hoi is a visionary. She's always pushing boundaries. And this exhibition is no exception. To me, it really represents who CCC is and the work we do so well. As I learn more about the work, I see that this storytelling is truly important. This work really need to be seen and their story told. This exhibition is part of the Women ongoing series exhibitions and programs. And I'm truly happy that CCC continue to give space to the women artists, and especially those in the Asian queer communities here in the US and abroad, so they can continue to voice and we continue to educate and to generate awareness. I think curator Hoi, says it the best in the San Francisco Art Monthly article, so I'm going to quote her here. She says, talking about queer identity is still pretty much a stigma for Asian American communities and families. At the Chinese Cultural Center, we're quite frank about it and are ready to educate the community, while people are not quite ready to accept it. I'm truly proud to be part of the CCC family. Before I pass the program over to Hoi, I would now like to introduce our wonderful leader, Executive Director, Jenny Leung.
Thank you so much, Cynthia, and thank you for being such a champion and supporting artists that tell the stories of our community, who are relevant and bring about social transformation. I just want to echo Cynthia and welcome and thank everyone for being here, just joining us from all parts of the world. I know it's early in the morning for some of you. For the program tonight, we're going to I'm going to overview the program a little bit. Tonight's really about exchange, getting to know each other and share. I'll do a little introduction about CCC for those of you who aren't familiar with us. Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat, your name, your organization, include your gender pronoun, and we'll have a lot of time at the end of the program to do a Q&A with the artists and Hoi. After I introduce CCC, you'll get a virtual tour of the exhibition of Women from Her to Here with the artists that we have here tonight and with our curator, Hoi Leung. At that time, just feel free to unmute yourself or ask questions in the chat. Before I kind of start talking a little bit about CCC, I just want to acknowledge and welcome, if she's here, the new director of Hong Kong Economic Trade Office of San Francisco, Jacko Zhang. I know Grace Yu, head of public relations, is here tonight. Just want to give a shout out, just as an amazing supporter of Hong Kong artists. Apsara de Quinzino, senior curator of modern and contemporary art at the Berkeley Art Museum, Pacific Film Archive, who spearheaded the Feminist Art Coalition, which our women exhibition is a part of. And I want to give a shout out to Catherine Maudsley because she's an amazing person, but also because she's a guest curator of Wesley Thompson, The Journey, which made a major solo debut at CCC. And it's so good to see you from Hong Kong. And also shout out to Julia White from also Berkeley Art Museum, who will be showcasing actually a CCC artist, Wesley Thompson, in a couple of years. I have to acknowledge Sally Yu Long, because she is everywhere tonight, but she's been a supporter of CCC as well. And also Fred, Kelvin, and Lisa from Gallery du Monde. Many of our CCC artists have been featured at your gallery, and we're just so proud to collaborate and collaborate together. And I saw Anchi Lee, Curator of Education and Public Programs at Parasite, and formerly at CCC. She did some amazing work with 41 Ross and Public Art, and just want to give a shout out and say hi. She's doing amazing work at Parasite. And also to our amazing team behind the scenes, Wendy Liu and Wei Yang Yu, who's just helping with some logistics. Just really excited that you are all here tonight and allow us an opportunity to share a little bit about our work. Can you do the next slide? So this is the Chinese Culture Center. We were founded in 1965 as part of the civil rights movement to be an art and culture anchor for Chinatown and the greater Bay Area. This is our location, our main gallery space, right across in the heart of Chinatown, as well as 41 Ross, which is our off-site gallery space. And we were founded from members from the Chinese American community to challenge narrow and racist perceptions of Chinese culture as relevant. We were created just a year after the US government lifted restrictive immigration quotas, and before there were formal diplomatic relations with the US. And so there was a lot of racism and xenophobia against Chinese in America. And so we had our history is really about shifting those xenophobic narratives and what it means to kind of be an immigrant here in the United States. These narratives are still very, very much present today with the increasing rise of anti-Asian hate since the pandemic, and it's been deeply important today for our work and our dialogue. We have a long history of presenting bold art with social transformation and community impact, and today we're a safe environment for artists who champion activism, resiliency, and healthy communities. We really, really believe in the power of arts and artists to shift the dominant narrative, empower change, and together we can reimagine our futures together. I'm going to just speak a little bit about how a small community-based organization rooted in San Francisco Chinatown became, shifted to contemporary art, where we are featuring bold international artists that you'll see in the exhibition today. We made that shift because contemporary art is really about relevancy and dialogue. And our work is not only relevant for our community locally in San Francisco, but we see the incredible power of what happens locally, what is important to the local community can be translated to broader impact nationally and internationally through contemporary art. And prior to that shift in 2009, the Chinese Culture Center meant a lot of things to many people. It produced a broad range of programming. We did In Search of Roots for young people of Chinese American heritage, traditional art exhibitions. And while these programs were engaging and well attended, the public didn't quite understand the impact nor its relevance to a rapidly changing world. This is one of our exhibitions, Present Tense Task of Remembrance. It's a group exhibition marking the 30th anniversary of Tiananmen Square, the Loma Prieta earthquake, which happened here and had a big impact on San Francisco's Chinatown, as well as the fall of the Berlin Wall. And beginning in that shift to contemporary art, we had a new executive and curatorial leadership that began this transformation and went from preserving traditional Chinese culture to elevating the underserved through art by being a bold voice for immigrants, women, and those who are queer, trans, people of color. And today we are allowed in creative voice to empower that transformation with a network of more than 500 artists from the Asian American community, as well as national and international artists who are committed to activism, sparking dialogues on equality, justice, and global concerns. And at the root of how we keep CCC relevant, besides keeping our ear to the ground, is our collaborations. And that's why it's so important that you are all here tonight. Our collaborators, have included people like yourselves, museums, art and cultural institutions, as well as social sector and activist organizations. And I'm just really proud that you are all here tonight to have this conversation, and we can kind of do this work together. And one of the lessons that we've learned since our transformation is that artists are a powerful voice for the underserved and for the community, but they do need consistent infrastructure support, as well as curatorial encouragement to break that glass ceiling. And there are stereotypes in the United States that Chinese artists are uncreative, are artists, and us as an organization suffer from the model minority myth, which is that Asian Americans in this country are so successful through just sheer hard work, and they're a model for success for other minorities. But our community is not discriminated against, and our communities do not suffer from inequity or poverty or other things, and that is simply not true. And so we came to the conclusion that Chinese Culture Center's vision must not be afraid to deconstruct stereotypes and shift narratives. And so that's, today we've become a space that's dedicated to the growth of artists to be the voice for the community, and we uplift the voices of marginalized communities, emerging artists, immigrants, refugees, queer, trans people of color, through the exhibitions. This exhibition in particular is Homing by Taiwanese artists, inspired by San Francisco Chinatown's vibrancy and architecture. Next slide, please. Public art activations that reimagine San Francisco Chinatown, transforming everyday spaces into artistic venues, as well as community-based art projects that incubate artists to work in an environment that balances experimentation and community engagement, while at the same time empowering community members to be creative agents through co-creation and participation. And so an important part of our work is having our community be part of co-designing some of this work. And as we are a community-based organization that's anchored in San Francisco's Chinatown, much of our work during the pandemic has been shifted to support the community, to be a strong voice against racism in solidarity with Black Lives Matter, countering anti-Asian hate. Chinatown is one of America's most important historical and cultural neighborhoods, and it's been at the frontier of immigrant rights, a contributor to the city's diversity, a leader in intergenerational leadership, cross-sector collaborations, and a commitment to racial equity. And yet it hasn't been recognized as such. And the pandemic has made it so important to highlight this place. And so some of the work that you're seeing right now is some of our arts in recovery, putting artwork on boarded up storefronts. At the beginning of the pandemic, Chinatown is dependent on visitorship, and many people started avoiding Chinatown because they thought that it was the center of where you could catch the coronavirus or COVID-19. Next slide, please. This is one of our artworks around called Share the Square Art Action Day. We posted bilingual materials on solidarity, as well as creating large-scale murals in the city's park to stand against hate and racism. This is continuation of it. And this is Live and Present by Christine Wong Yap. It's a year-long project that was expanded into this format, presented as an outdoor exhibit, and it focuses on stories of belonging collected from community members and stakeholders and leaders in the community about why this space is so important, not just to the community, but to the city and nationally, and I would say internationally as well. And we're just so thrilled that our work has been recognized. We were just recently selected by the Wallace Foundation as one of high-performing arts organizations of color, and recognized by the Andy Warhol Foundation, the Wattis Foundation, and the National Endowment for the Arts. Next slide, please. And so I want to really just end just this little blurb about CCC to just invite everyone to participate. We have a lot of exciting upcoming events. Some of you have been to our annual gala happening May 20th, called Harmony and Bliss, We, the Future. We are also collaborating with San Francisco Pride on March 25th. And as part of this exhibition, there's going to be many artist talks as a complement to this exhibition, including with Queer Reads Library and Mixed Rights Scene, who are here with us tonight. So really encourage you to check it out, sign up for our email newsletter, and engage and participate, and love to collaborate and touch base with everybody after this, because I feel like this is not the first and only moment for us to engage and speak with each other. So I look forward to collaborating. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce our amazing curator, Hoi, who is a strong voice to uplift artists' voices, to give you a little bit of insight and hear from the artists themselves. Hoi, you want to take it away?
Okay, thank you, Jenny, for giving all the context about the work that we do, and that so that I can move into this tour fluidly, because so much of who we are has to do with where we come from, what we represent in the community, and why we do the work that we do. So thank you, Jenny, for giving such an amazing background onto what CCC is about. So hello, everyone. My name is Hoi, and I'm the curator at CCC. I'm so excited to welcome you to WOMEN我們, from her to here. We have some special appearances from some of our artists. We have Queer Reads Library with us, and also Hee Seong, calling in from Seoul, Korea. I know Nicole popped in for a second, but I believe she might have to leave early. And so this exhibition is part of a larger series of 3 entitled WOMEN我們, meaning both women and us in Mandarin, which provides a platform for exploring and presenting artwork related to feminism, gender diversity, and sexual equality. For an organization that is constantly at an intersection between an immigrant neighborhood and also a global identity, having a sense of agency and belonging is definitely something we grapple with constantly. What does it mean to have full control over your own body, history, and imaginations? What does it mean to be your most authentic selves? So one of the goals of the exhibition is to center queerness as not only a complex and nuanced identity, but also experiences rooted in the non-binary, which I find to be a source of power, a practice, and perhaps a sensibility that is at the forefront of activism and creativity. So I'm so excited to lead you into the journey of this exhibition. And also I will be using our online exhibition platform to go through this tour. So the exhibition begins with the work Erotic New Wallpaper by Kaohsiung-based artist Yao Hong. As a young trans woman artist, this work represents the collective anxieties of contemporary Taiwan and her personal anxieties rooted in her identity. Yao Hong illustrates complicated, contrasting, and contradictory patterns. She uses wallpaper as a way to force her drawing practice into a 3D space. She also, as you can see, she also uses tiling that alludes to more domestic Taiwan. The placement of the artwork is at an unavoidable entryway of the gallery. This piece confronts the viewer into something familiar, something that can't be unseen or ignored, perhaps much like the experience of being queer itself. And so now we arrived at Madeline Lim's Samba Balanchan in San Francisco.
Madeline Lim is an artist, activist, founder of Queer Woman of Colors Media Arts Project in San Francisco Bay Area, political dissidents. In the seminal work from 1997, 3 first-generation Singaporean lesbian immigrants in San Francisco grapple with a sense of home, belonging, and their identities. Tension arises between a desire to love freely, a desire to love your home, and a desire for safety. This work is melodic, dreamy, and aromatic, and perhaps like a time capsule, it also gives the viewer a glimpse into the culture of San Francisco, powered by its most diverse and powerful communities that often feels like they, neither belong here nor there. And moving along, next we have the work by Chelsea Wong. This series of painting is a new commission, looking at queer spaces and imagined scenes in San Francisco, with 3 of the works based on stories in Chinatown, which includes Lipo Bar, the Forbidden City nightclub, and the rickshaw at Ross Alley. During the 1940s, Lipo Bar in San Francisco's Chinatown used to be a safe haven for gay customers during police raids. That was rampant during World War II. And a few blocks down in an alleyway, Rickshaw Bar was a lesbian bar and was rumored that the Beatles had performed there at some point, an icon in Chinatown, as well as San Francisco nightlife that no longer exists. These scenes depict the incidents where police raided the rickshaw, and it was rumored that a couple of lesbians who had tried to fight back triggered a small riot. Chelsea's work is imaginative, vibrant, and centered on fantastical scenes of social gathering and setting, and she wishes her viewer to arrive at her work with a sense of curiosity. And I oftentimes look at the scene here with the Lipo Bar, and I wonder that, whether Lipo was a safe space for the gay community because Chinatown just didn't want any trouble with the police, or that perhaps queerness is not that foreign of a concept to Chinese people at all. And next we have the film Kobe and Stephen Are in Love by Luca Yang and Carlo Nassis. The film depicts Kobe, who is 92, a retired dancer and a star of the Chinatown's Forbidden City nightclub in the 1940s, which is a spot that I highly encourage everyone to Google and learn more about. And also Stephen, who is 74, a retired experimental filmmaker who went through the American anti-war movement in the 60s. They love dancing and they love each other. Kobe was Stephen's costume designer and Stephen was Kobe's archivist.
Oh, this is an album that Stephen put together. God, that's an old tap dancing picture of me, and there's my sisters and brothers. Here are family pictures. My mother, Fawn, Karen, Jeannie, and Kobe. And then these were taken backstage at the Forbidden City. Well, there's quite a bit of history here. Gee, these are old clippings too. See the caption on that? It says, "Lavish new risque show stars the Dragon Lady. Kobe Yi lands at Oriental, grace to the art of stripping at the Forbidden City." All these different places that I went on the road, I've forgotten about that. 1940, I don't even remember. See, these are things I like to forget.
And what's more unexpected is perhaps the artist's experience with the community here in Chinatown during her research of nightclubs, theaters, and operas. She sort of considered making friends with the dancing follies here is almost as a second family, as she developed a whole subset of works based on her initial research. And next we have the Queer Reads Library. I know Beatrice, I think Caitlin and Rachel are here with us today. So I would love to pass the mic to them to talk a little bit more about their group and also their work that they're showing.
Okay, thanks, Hoy. Hi, this is Rachel from Queer Reads Library. So my fellow co-librarian and teammate Beatrix is also here today. So they're going to be talking a little bit about the lexicon later, but I'll start off. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Queer Reads Library or Laodong, we are a mobile library of queer books and zines that was established by Caitlin and Beatrix back in the fall of 2018. Yeah. And that was due to the fact that the Hong Kong Public Library had banned some LGBTQ themed children's books. And as a response, Caitlin and Beatrix had taken titles from their own personal collections and created this mobile library. And I joined the team in early 2019. So in this particular part of our exhibit at WOMEN, we actually asked Jay Wu, or also known as Mixed Rice Zines, to curate a selection from our library based off of what they felt was relevant to the local context of the Bay Area and queer folks in the Bay Area. And so what you're seeing now here on the page that Hoy's scrolling through is actually Queer Reads Library's webpage, and this includes personal reflections as well as excerpts that are read aloud by Jay Wu of the different titles that they had chosen. And it also includes 10 titles from their own personal library that are also related to queer narratives and zines. So due to the pandemic, this was our way of creatively showcasing the zines, even if people couldn't necessarily touch them and read them in person, because we do really believe in the importance of interacting with printed matter in a more intimate way. So this was our way of doing that. And the second part of our exhibit is the queer lexicon, and I'm going to hand the mic to my teammate Beatrix, who will talk a little bit more about that.
Hello, good morning. This is Beatrix from in Hong Kong. And so in the exhibition, we had kind of reaching the deadline of presenting this lexicon, which we originally planned it as a printed matter. And it comes from an inspiration of Vietnamese queer lexicon, which we found in Singapore. And then after all, we thought there are actually a lot of words which had been spoken and circulated in the queer community in Hong Kong, and at least among our friends. So we came up with the idea that why don't we make a kind of like a documentation of how to gather these words together. So and after all, we had did a workshop in May in 2019, which we call out a group of friends from the community and who had been our seeders, like to the first group of people whom we could allow us to collect the first batch of the queer words. And those becomes the resources and the material which we could start to working on the queer lexicon. And it has been taking us quite a amount of time of thinking about how did we start with these, like using or organize these words in categories or in what should be the form, because we think that this lexicon is not represented any academic or from any like medical organization. So this is it comes out that we decided this lexicon is for people and by people, and then that's why we also, because of the pandemic, that we are not allowed to have a lot of physical interactions, and so to develop a web version of the lexicon is somehow is a resource that we think that it would we could work how to say, we could do it sustainably, and also with the idea of starting a workshop in 2019. And so this lexicon is also another platform which allowed us to open up for public on the internet, which everyone could submit their words to us. Right now, Hoi is showing the webpage. It's called queerlexicon.com. And on the top up corner, you can see submit. So, or you go down to the Explore Queer Lexicon, which you can see like browse all the words that, that we have been collected. And so they are not just words, but we welcome for definitions. So if you only have words but not definitions, it's also fine. And there are no restrictions and languages. Hopefully we want these words are coming from Asian community, especially Chinese community, so that we could have a ground to document it or archive these words that have been using in the daily lives of queer folks in Hong Kong, in Taiwan, mainland China, and Singapore, so on and so forth. Yes.
Thank you so much. And you can kind of see in the back how the project is installed in the gallery as well.
One. The first local, infection was reported February 1986. I wonder, is this local Pisces or Aquarius? How does a local infection report? Local infections, I suspect, don't interview so well. Why make news anyway if everyone refuses to talk about it? 2, journalist. Local infections run express, seem they spread so fast. Aquariuses are always better in bed. Have you ever dated a Pisces? Did your immune system survive the experience? I wonder if in the press to report anyone managed to get that local's name. Locals have homes, don't they? New Taipei City, Taiwan, Shanghai, Taichung. Sleep, too, must be really important. Being infected all day, every day, for the rest of your life has to be exhausting. Maybe if the locals slept without laying down, transmissions might slow down. Oh, but those Aquarius, I've heard, prefer to take it standing up. So much for that prevention strategy. 3, wonder
So
local boys like boys too.
So from local to universal, international to intergalactic. Brad Walren's poetics work, accompanied by digital collage by Stephen Williams, found inspiration from the stories of 5 anonymous HIV-positive Taiwanese men. This work was originally performed at MoCA Taipei in 2019 by an exhibition curated by Liu Kairen. Brad chronicles the history of HIV/AIDS pandemic in Taiwan while paying keen attention to lived experiences of stories of these men and how their diagnosis informed notions of identity, formation, sex, desire, queerness, illness, and stigma. In this 25-minute stream of consciousness atop colonial undercurrents, the artist belts out the first, which echoes every so often in the gallery space, awakening a consciousness to negotiate what is the first, who is the first, and don't we all embody our roots in some way. And next we have the artist Hee Seong. I'm gonna play a little bit of her video installation work, and then I'll ask Hee Seong to share a little bit more about the project. Okay, we're gonna have to deal without sound for this. Okay, so let's bring Hee Seong in to talk a little bit about her projects.
Hi, I'm Hee Seong. I am a visual artist from Korea and working in the Bay Area in Seoul, mostly in Bay Area. And this video is about my lay Muslim digital utopia. I initiated an autobiographical feminist religion in 2017, and I'm developing the word by communal practice with my believers. There were like more than 100 people who converted to lay Muslim. So I do some collaborative work with them. But at the same time, I'm developing my own like personal lay Muslim utopia by like creating the 3D avatars of myself and my female ancestors. So in this video, there are 7 characters, including me, and this scene is like two of myself. So and I have in this video there is my mom and grandma from my mom's side, and grandma from father's side, and great grandma from my dad's side, and also the lay Muslim religion itself, which I visualized as snake and woman. So when I made this video, I 3D scanned the whole neighborhood of CCC Gallery, the Chinatown, and the park, and especially the bridge was really interesting inspiration to create this video, because for me, the bridge connecting the CCC Gallery and the Chinatown, the park area was like, I feel like some kind of like, it's connecting the 2 different worlds, like the 2 neighborhoods are so looking different. So I felt like, oh, maybe I can use this bridge the bridge in the video right now could be the bridge to connect the lay Muslim utopia, which I'm dreaming of, and also my the physical world where my body is located in now. So yeah, I 3D scanned the neighborhood like multiple times and transformed that area as my digital lay Muslim utopia. So by making the videos or digital images, games, I'm aiming to transform my daily life as feminist, and also and I want to merge the digital utopia which I'm dreaming of and my life together. So, and ideally I want to make my ancestors' body queer, and at the time I want to re-explore myself as well. So making this kind of art practice is the way how I develop my feminist religion, and it's some kind of like religious practice.
You want to speak a little bit about the work with your mother as well?
Okay, yeah. So in the physical gallery, I have 2 video pieces. So the left side one is the main wall, the lay Muslim bridge piece, and the second wall is like 7-second looping video of my mom. Like I made the 3D avatar of my mom and transformed her as lay Muslim with the snake body, snake skin. And this is because the whole area of the CCC gallery is really important for me. I had a solo exhibition in 2019 around that area. And at that time, when I was preparing the exhibition, at that time, I heard my mom got cancer. And the video was like, I had at the time was, I had some baths together with my female ancestors, including my mom. And we had like metamorphosis ritual together. We like took off all the like human skin and became lay Muslim body. So when I was working on the installation, and after hearing the kind of news about my mom's health, I felt so depressed and sad. But the neighborhood and the neighbors in the area were so welcoming me, and I feel so comfortable whenever I walk around the neighborhood, and like people there remind me of my family, especially. So while working on this project, I felt it's really, how can I say, like that area brought me a lot of like good memories. And I wanted to make another video about my mom, especially because I want to honor her, and it's like celebrating her like second body, like second life, without any illness and without any limit of time and space. So that's why I have the second wall with my mom's video, and the direction she's walking is like towards the lay Muslim bridge piece. So it's like I wanted to like show that like we are like moving forward like to the utopia idea.
Thank you, Hee Seong.
Thank you.
And next up, we have a project by WOMEN, who identifies as a lesbian. She searched for historical traces of queer communities to form an understanding of her own identity. Suits and Corsages is an ongoing project where she sought to present cultural memories of untold feminist and LGBTQ history of Taiwan using different creative forms and concepts. And so far, the project has encompassed a publication, film, photography, installation. And this project presents the story of the 13 teddy girls of Shoutouts, which is a group of women who would appear in the press as deviant gangster girls who wore suits and managed their own finances in the 50s and 60s. This is a sisterhood who found businesses and side hustles within the nightlife and entertainment history. They had families, they had girlfriends. From their story, we could not only see the unique memories of local queers, but it also provided a lens into a minor part of the island's history and identity itself. And then in Nicole Poon's, who's a Hong Kong-based artist, photography series In and Out, she interviewed American, Taiwanese, and Hong Kong lesbians to learn more about stories of their hands. She asked, how do lesbians engage in sexual intimacy? The hands are the portrait of the individual that she has photographs, and perhaps their skin texture and motion can tell a deeper story here, gesturing between a recluse sense of love, but also a sense of power. And also part of the exhibition is When I Was a Child by Chen Hangshen. He reflects on the incidents of Ye Yongzhi, whose body was found in the bathroom of his schools in the 2000s, and was known to have been bullied for displaying feminine tendencies. His death led to the enactment of the Gender Equality Education Act in Taiwan. Hangshen contemplates on the pot of green leaved plant sitting atop Yongji's mother's fridge, and which said to have been planted by her caring, loving, and charming child. And this work has several parts to it. And the twin flower that's part of the installation would move very subtly, and it would sort of bask under the warm sunlight that would enter into the gallery from outside. And through the pink tinted window, we can also, alongside him, reflect on time, life, gender, and youth. And the exhibition perhaps both ends and climax at Ever Wanting for Margaret Chung by Tina Takemoto, who's a Bay Area-based experimental filmmaker. In this laborious handmade 16mm film, it is inspired by Margaret Chung, who is the first American-born Chinese female physician. Known as Mike in her college year, Chung experimented with masculine and feminine gender presentations. She worshipped opera singers such as Lily Pons and was surrounded herself with young starlets and celebrities. Her obsession with aviation led her to adopt more than 1,500 US military personnel, including the Flying Tigers, the daredevil pilots who flew Tiger shark-faced combat planes. As Tina steps into the minds and aura of Chung to create this work, they describe that the film envisions the euphoria and despair of Chung's insatiable desire for women and belonging within a sea of white military heroes, nurses, and celebrities as it delves into drugs, sapphic surgeries, and queer flights of fancy. And so at its core, we are women, this exhibition series represents agency and belonging, and also our need as arts organization to sustain safe physical and psychological spaces to preserve queer and feminist creativity and cultural growth. So thank you so much for bearing with me and the technical difficulties. So this is the, oops, oh my goodness. Just as I was saying. And this is the end of my walkthrough, and I hope everyone can visit the online exhibition, which I'll put the link to the chat, and then also we'll be getting ready to open to the public really soon. So this will be a different experience walking into the space and visiting us in Chinatown. Thank you.